Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Sandip and now you're watching Python for Cloud Episode 1 Python Fundamentals. In this session, we'll be learning what is Python, Python history, what is Python use cases, installing Python, running a small hello world program, then Python keywords, Python variables, Python data types. Then we'll be learning about the data type conversion or the typecasting. Then we'll learn about the Python operators, if else use cases, for loop, while loop, functions, models, and error handling. Okay, so now let's get started. So what exactly is Python? Python is an interpreted high-level general purpose programming language. It constantly ranks as one of the most popular programming language. Its language constructs as well as its object-oriented approach aim to help programmers write clear, logical code for the small, mid, or even large-scale projects. Okay, so Python is dynamically typed and garbage collected. It supports multiple programming paradigms including structure, object-oriented, and even functional programming. Its high-level built-in data structure combined with dynamic typing and dynamic building makes it very attractive for rapid application development as well as for the use of scripting or as a glue language to connect existing components together. Okay, so that's what Python is. Now let's learn about a bit history of Python. So it's all started by Guido van Rossum in 1980. Then first version was released on 1991 as Python 0.9.0, and then in the year 2000 the Python 2.0 was released, and in 2008 Python 3.0 was released, and the latest version is 3.0 onwards. Okay, and Python 2.0 was depreciated in 2020. Okay, now let's learn about the Python use cases. First is the application development. So Python get used for developing web application, REST APIs and more using Django, Pyramid, Bottle, Tornado, Flask, Web2Py. Now second use case is automation. So Python get used for the developing workflow automation script including cloud automation and resource provisioning. Notably Ansible, Salt, OpenStack, and all these are written in Python. Okay. The third use case is the data science and machine learning. So one of the most popular use case of Python is in the field of data science and the machine learning. And SciPy, Pandas, and NumPy getting used heavily for the data science field. Okay, so our goal in this series will be to have enough Python knowledge to work with cloud and DevOps projects and use different SDKs provided by the different cloud service providers and use other open source SDKs as well. Okay, that's our goal, and I will upload new episodes every week. So if you didn't subscribe my channel yet, do subscribe the channel and don't forget to click on the bell icon. Okay, now let's proceed. Now it's time to install the Python. Now to install Python, you have to go to the Python official website, and then based on your OS, you have to select the installation process. Okay, let me show you. Now this is the Python website. You can see here www.python.org. There, if you go to the download section, this download menu, they will get the option like Windows, for Mac, for other platform. Now my OS is the Mac OS, so I can simply download. See, it's asking for me to download, so let's click on save, and here the download started. And it will take few seconds to download complete. Let's wait for that. Now the download is completed. Simply when the download completed, open the package. Now for Windows, the process is also similar. Okay, you have to just select for the Windows OS, and then I just have to continue and continue, keep continuing, and install the software. Now I already have the software installed, so I don't have to install anymore. But for you, you can just simply follow the step and it will be installed for you. Okay, and suppose your OS is Linux, so you have to go to that all releases, and there you will get the option for the Linux or Unix, and you can install from there also. Now once you install the Python, of course you can just simply write the program in Notepad or similar kind of thing and run it, but for real life projects we need an IDE or integrated development environment that will make our life a lot easier. Okay, there are a lot of excellent IDEs available. Just to name a few, VS Code, PyCharm, Atom, Sublime, Jupyter are all there. Okay, and my all-time personal favorite is the VS Code because it's very simple to set up, and VS Code have a lot of excellent plugins. So let me show you how to install the VS Code. Okay, now to install VS Code, let's search by the VS Code, and it will give the link to the VS Code site. So you can see here, click on the link, and there you just get the download option. Now it is for the Mac OS, Windows, and Linux. All are available. Based on your own OS, you have to download and install it. Okay, so once the VS Code is installed and started, you have to just go to the this extension section and simply go there and then search for the Python extension. Okay, simple Python extension, and the very first one which have the most installation, simply go there and install this one. It will be used for your syntax highlighting and help you in your Python programming. Okay, that's very useful. That's why you must install it. Okay, after you're done, let's run our first program. So this project I have already pushed in the GitHub. You will get the link in the video description section as well as in the first comment. So do go and check out. It will help you in your practicing the Python codes. Okay. So I have a very first program which is Hello World, and it's our famous Hello World. So if you learn any programming language, we simply run first the Hello World. So that's why reason I'm running this. To run this, I'm first going to terminal, and then you see new terminal, and is asking me to choose the root path where I'm giving Python for Cloud, which is the project name here, and it started. It's in EP1, okay, episode 1. So let's see, these are the files. So let's clear it a bit. Now to run this program, which is the file name is the hello world py, we have to just run Python 3, then the Python file name, and Python file will always have an extension .py. Okay, so always remember, see, .py, all are the files with .py. Make sure that the file extension is .py. I'm just telling you repeatedly. Now Python 3, then enter the name of the file. Here the file name is hello_world.py. So just run it, and you can see a print hello world. So print actually just show the output of the standard output. That's what it does. Okay. Now let's understand about the Python keywords. So Python has multiple reserved keywords which we cannot use as a variable name or any identifier or any function name. Okay, and this keyword have specific use cases or purposes while doing programming with the Python, and we will cover in the next section anyway. So here are the list of the keywords. You don't have to remember everything, but the necessary ones you have to remember. So if, else if, else, and, or, not, with, or, global, import, async await, none, pass, return, raise, except, lambda, try, while, non-local, continue, finally, from, yield, true, false, class, break, except, is, in, import. So these are all the keywords that we cannot use a variable name. So always remember that part, otherwise you will get the error. Just for example, if you try to use a keyword as a variable name, see, it's getting a syntax error. Okay, so make sure don't use any keywords as a variable or as a function name. Always remember that part. Now let's learn about the variables. So why we should use the variables? So we can use variables to store values in memory and use it as you see fit. For example, use to store values or using the calculations. Okay. Now to name a variable, there is certain rules in Python we should always remember. And the first condition is that variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores. For example, A to Z, 0 to 9, and underscore is allowed. No other special character is allowed. Okay. And the second one is that variable name must start with a letter or the underscore and cannot start with a number. So at the beginning of the variable, you cannot give a number. Okay. You have to start with either A to Z, any value, or underscore you can start with. Okay. And you can see in the example how it is here. So my word, my underscore word, underscore my word, or my word 31. Now naming convention while naming multi-word variables. So suppose there is a long words. Okay, see this variable name. So it cannot be all just simple. It will be very confusing, right? So there are multiple way. Okay, so there is camel case, snake case, or the pauper case. The most popular ones are the camel case and the snake case. So always remember that part. Okay, now let's talk about the multi-value assignment and output. So Python allow us to use multi-value assignment as showing in the example. You can see x, y, z is equal to red, green, and blue. And if you like print x, it will be red. If you print y, it will be green. And if you print z, it will be blue. So we can define multi-variables in a single line. Okay, and to show output, we will use the print one, just as I'm showing the examples. Okay, now let's test the variable assignment here. So let's say I'm giving a variable name as say 2, 3, or just 2 name. Okay, just I'm giving it the value. Okay, but if we try to execute it, we'll see it will throw error. So let's give Python 3, then the file name is var_test, giving error, right? And we see invalid decimal literal because we cannot have number in front of variable. Okay, so if we give name and let's say the simple name, it will be all okay. So let's save it and run it. You can see no error. Okay, but if we try to give underscore also, and it will work fine. But if you give any other special character, say percentage or like that, it will throw error because invalid syntax. And let's say I give let's say I give number at the end, so like this, it will be okay again. See, but if I give any special character, just for example this percentage and if we try to run, it will be error. So as for the condition, the variable name always will be with the alpha as well as A to Z, and at the end you can have the numeric values or special character underscore, but not anything other than that. Okay, so always remember that part, otherwise you will get the syntax error. Okay, now let's move to the next section. Now let's learn about the Python data types. So first one is the numeric. So there are integers, floating points and complex number in Python defined as int, float and complex classes in Python. Now let me show you an example that will be easy for you guys to understand. Okay. Now look at the file called typechecknumber.py, and there we will see the values called a is equal to 7, b is equal to 3.8 and c is equal to 5j. The first one is the integer because there is no floating point, and second one is the float. You can see the point value there, and the third one is very complex value, that is 5j. Now let's check the type of each of these values. Now this type function that you are calling here, that will return the type of any variable. Okay, and we will be utilizing this type function multiple times. Now let's run this Python file. For that, enter Python 3 and then the file name. So type check, then number. Okay. And if we run that, the first one you can see the class is int because it will return the class, right? So the first one is the int, the second one is the float, the third one is the complex. Okay, so this is how you can define the type of the variable. The second one is the string. So the string is a sequence of Unicode characters. String in Python are represented with a single quote or double quote. Okay, such as like see Sandip is under single quote and defined as str class in Python. Now let me show you example. Now check the file name type underscore check underscore string dot py, and there will find a variable called name, and I have given my name Sandip Das, and you can see the values is under double quote. Okay, so you can give the single quote as well, not a problem. And then in the print you can see I'm giving the type and then the name, so it will return the type of the name. Okay, so let's run that. For that to run, we will give Python 3 and then the file name of this Python script. So type check string, and you can see it will return the type class as string. So the variable type is a string variable. Okay, so that's how we'll understand. Now let's talk about the list, tuple and set data type. Okay, so the first one is the list. So lists are used to store multiple items in a single variable in a mutable ordered sequence. Items are separated by comma and inside a third bracket. Okay, and the index start from 0. Now let me show you how it works. It will be better for your understanding. So list type example we will find in type underscore check underscore list dot py file in the git. Okay, and here I have defined a one variable, so that is simple list, and the values are the 3 string values and 3 int values. Okay, so we can store multiple types of values in single list variable. Okay, so remember that part. Now if we print the value, we will be able to print it. Okay, and here if we print the type, it will give us the list type. Okay, so let's try that. So Python 3, then let's give the file name. So type check list. Okay, now if we go up and if you see here, see it's printing the red, green, blue, all that variable, the values you have defined here, and is giving the class at list. Okay, so it's giving you a proper list also. Now with this list type of variable, we can do a lot more. Okay, we can find the value, say now suppose you want to access the value of this green value. Okay, so we can give like simple list the variable name, and always remember the index start from 0. Okay, so 0 is red, 1 is green and blue is 2. So if we are giving 1, that means it will print green. Okay, and this is how we are printing. We are using the print statement, so it will show the output in the standard output console. So simple list 1 is equal to this variable value. Okay, so this variable and the index 1, that is the green. So always remember that. And if we do the type check, you will see the type is string and not the list. List is the type of the entire single variable. Inside that variable we have list of other variables or values, right? So this values data type is the string. Okay, so you can see a class string. Similarly, suppose I want to check, I want to access this 5 value. Okay, so that is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fourth index. So if we check the fourth index here, so let's check the fourth index there, and let's clear the screen again and let's run it. So you can check here the simple list, then the index 4 value is 5, and if we check the if we check here the type of the variable, you can see here type simple list index 4, it is giving us the integer. So that's very important. We can store any kind of or any type of the variable inside the list, and this is how we define the list. So under third bracket and giving like separated by the commas, okay, and we can have any type of variable value, okay. Now we can do a lot more than that. We can just filter. So suppose we want the values from index 0 to 3, we can just give the range 0 to 3. It will show the value up to the 3, that is 0, 1, 2, 3, and you can see the example is, so 0 to 3 it will give red, green and blue. Similar way, suppose we want the values from after the 3, so you can see here, if we do that, we will get just the numbers we want to get. So 0, 1, 2, so we want it from 3, right? So 3, 4, 6, all, if we give just the 3 as a starting point here, and so you can see here 3 and then the column, then we will get the only integer values, okay. So this is how it works, and we can of course change the values. Suppose in the index 2, that is 0, 1, 2, instead of blue we want it to be like say 3, so as an integer, okay, and we just change the value like giving the simple list the actual list variable name, and then inside that the index of the item we want to change the value, that is 2 here, which is the blue, and then you are giving new value, that is the 3. So you can see here, after that you want to check the values. So value did change, and the simple list value, you can see value did change, and it is red, green become the blue become 3, then 4, 5, 6. So that's how we do it. And suppose you want to access the last item value, you can give like -1, -2. So this way you can access the values from the last of the variable, okay. So you can see if we give the -1, then it is accessing the very last one, and you can see here simple list, then the -1 value is the 6, okay. And we can add new values as well. For example, at the very end we want to add a value, say in the 6th index, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there is no 6th index, right? So we can add a 6th index value here, and let's say the value is the new value, and if we then after that immediately if we print the value, you can see the newly added item in the list, and the end, the index, the value get added. So we can also remove the item as well by the value. So see here, the list variable name dot remove function will be utilizing, so dot remove, and there we are just giving the value, and immediately after that if we do the printing here, and you can see one item removed from the list, and we cannot see anymore the new value 1, okay. So this item is no more there. So that's and also we can remove another way, that is giving the pop method. So one item removed from the list by index, so giving the index you can also remove. So let's say the index is 2, so the 2 index is 0, 1, 2. So and I think we in between we change the value, that is 3. So if we now print, so we one item removed from the list by index, previously there was 3, right? But since we use the pop method and given the index as 2, the 3 value get removed because 0, 1 and 2, and there is the values the 3 no more because it removed by the index, okay. In addition to remove, adding and all, we can also loop through the items, okay. Now let's understand about tuple. So tuples are used to store multiple items in a single variable in a immutable or unchangeable ordered sequence. So we cannot change the values of this tuple, okay. Items are separated by comma and defined by the parenthesis, okay. It functions same as list, but the values are not changeable, okay. Now let me show you an example so you can understand better. So the tuple example is in the file type underscore check underscore tuple, and there you can see we are defining simple list, and you can see the values are inside the parenthesis, and there we are giving red, green, blue, 4, 5, 6. Again we can have the any kind of values inside here, but it is under brackets, okay. Always remember that part. And then if we print it, it will show the values accordingly, and if we check the type, it will return as the tuple type. Now let me show you. So let's run Python, then the 3, then the file name is type check tuple.py, okay. Now execute it, and you can see it's giving you the values here. You can see it's giving values inside the brackets, okay. So red, green, blue, 4, 5, 6, all that, and you can see the type is tuple, okay. So this is how it is. Just like the list, the index start from 0. Here also same, the index will start from the 0, but you cannot change the values of the items, okay. And here you can see you can filter the data same way, like from 0 to 3 you can see the data we can filter the data by 0 to 3, which is the red, green, blue, and there's the numbers. If you want only the numbers, we can limit from 3 to rest of the values. Similar to the list, if you want to check the last item value, you can give -1, it will return the 6. So it works the same way. Okay, I hope you understand the tuple. Now let's move to the set. Now what is set? A set is a collection of unordered, unchangeable, unindexed unique values of items. The items are separated by comma and inside the second brackets. Okay. Now let me show you so you can understand even better. The set example we will find in type_check_set.py file. Again, you can file the file in the GitHub. Now here the simple set, and I'm giving the second brackets and defining the values inside that. Okay. Now on rule here that the values will be unique. If you given even the like same values, all that, it will be automatically turn all the values into the unique values. Okay, and it will remove the duplicates. Always remember that. I will show you anyway. Now let's check the type by printing the type of this variable. Okay, let's run it. Now let's run it. So Python 3 and the file name, that is type check set. So type check set, okay, .py. And if you run it, you can see the class is set. So of course the type of the variable is a set type. Okay, and you can add the new values here. You can see the set.add10. If you do that and if you print, you can see the 10 value get added. Suppose you want to remove the value 10, you can see simple set.remove. So there is add method and the remove method, and that way you can remove the 10 value. And suppose you have a duplicate value. So in a set, say 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, this kind of thing, like a lot of duplicate values are there, and you want the only unique value set from that. Simply like define all these values inside a set, and you can see all become the unique values, and there is no more duplicate values are there. Okay, and just like the normal set in mathematical way, here also you can use the union, intersection, the difference, and the systematic differences. Okay, so you can do all kind of set operation here. Okay. Now let's learn about the Boolean data type. So Boolean represents only two values. What is the true and what is the false? Okay, defined by the bool class. Now let me show you. Okay, the Boolean example we will find in type_check_boolean.py file. Here you can see I given A is equal to true and B is equal to false. And remember and notice that T in the true and F in the false are in capital case. Okay, so remember that part. Now let's run the type check boolean file. So again, same way, Python 3, then the type check boolean py, and if you run that, you can see both are the boolean type. Okay, because of course either true or false, right? So both are, and class is bool. Okay, now let's discuss about one of the most important type of variable, that is the dictionary or dist in short. Okay, and dictionaries are used to store the data values in key value pairs. And just so as a note, in our next episode we'll be utilizing this dictionary type of variable a lot of times. Okay, so learn that very carefully. Now let me show you example. The dictionary type of variable example is in type_check_dict.py file. Okay, so again you will find it in the git. Now how to define a dictionary? You can see the variable name, then equals to the second brackets or the braces. Inside that we are giving the key and the value. Okay, key and value. You can see the key and the value, right? So this is how we define the dictionary type. And you can see we can define any kind of variable. So just for say name, and the type is string, and the age data type is say 30, which is the integer. So and the location is Kolkata, again string. So we can assign any kind of values here. Okay, inside the dictionary, and these are the collection of key and pair. Okay, now if we check the type of the person, this variable, it will be dict class or the dict type. If we check the type of the name and how we can access the name key here, so this is the main dictionary type variable. Inside the third brackets or the square brackets, there you give the name inside single quote. If you don't give the name inside single quote, it will throw error. Okay, so remember to give the single quote or double quote here. Okay, and similarly you can also access the age here. You can see I'm giving, just for example, a double quote inside that I'm mentioning the age keyword, and this is how you can access the values. Okay, by using the key. Now let's execute and check the variable types. Okay, so to run that, Python 3, and then let's give the type check, then dict. Okay, this is the file where I'm giving the example, and you can see here, let's come here, and the type of the variable person is the dict, because we define as the dictionary. But the type of the name is string because you're given the string value, right? See, the class is string, and for the age it's integer value, right? So again it is giving class int, so which is an integer. So that's how you can define a dictionary, and you can utilize the values here. And again, just a reminder, using the variable name and inside the thread brackets, that inside that you can give the key name to access the values. We can also check a key is exist in a dictionary or not by using an in keyword. See, the name in person, so person is the dictionary type and the name is a key I'm checking. And let's run it and see. So you can see here it exists, that's why it's coming true. And suppose we just name it to name 2 or name whatever, just which key doesn't exist in our dictionary, it will come as false. So let's see, you can see it's coming as false here because that key doesn't exist anymore, right? And we can change the values of any key. Say the person age is 31, so if you check here the person age becomes 31. And to change a value of a key, we can also use the dot update method. Okay, thus for example we use the dot update method and set the value of age as 29. You can see the value of age become 29 when we print it here. Okay, and that's how you can update the values and change it. And you can also add additional values. Let's say eye color, it was not there, right? And so we just simply added a eye color field and assign a value as brown. You can see it became eye color brown if we print the entire dictionary here. Okay, there is also another way to add new key to the dictionary using the update. So you can see update, then hair color, which the keys doesn't exist in our dictionary currently, and we're giving black. So if we print the person again, you can see the values here, we're getting the hair color black as well. Okay, now you can also remove the values from the dictionary using pop method. We can remove the key value from the dictionary. Say we want to remove the hair color, so pop then the key name, and you can see if we print the person again, we are not seeing the hair color anymore. Similarly, we can also give the pop item. Okay, then it will remove the last item. So last item was the eye color, right? So we use the pop item and then printed the person. You can see in the next when we print it, there is no more eye color, right? So that's how it works. We can also use the del keyword to remove a field. You can see del, then the person age, and we printed the person dictionary again. Here we are no more seeing the age anymore, right? So these are the ways we can clean up. Okay, and if you want to remove all the key and values, everything in a particular dictionary, simply use the clear method, and you can see it become empty. If you print the person, it become empty. Okay, now let's learn about the type conversion and typecasting. So converting the value of one data type into another data type is called the type conversion, and doing so via the Python constructor functions called casting. So typecasting can be done via the below method, that is the one, the int. Okay, so you can see the int function take a float or string interval considering it's a non-float number as an argument and return a value of class int. For example, int, then in the first brackets 5, so say b is equal to int, then first brackets 7.9, say the c is equal to then int, then the parenthesis 7.9, and these values will return 5, 7 and 12. You can see from the float it removed the decimal part. Okay, for the string case it numbered it to integer. Okay, so that's how it done. The float function take an int or string literal as an argument and return a value of class float type. For example, say variable a is equal to float, then in the first brackets 5, for b is equal to float, then in the first bracket 7.9, c is equal to float in the brackets inside quotation 12.50, which indicates the string. Output will be 5.0, 7.90 and 12.50. Okay, so that's how the float works. For string, it will take a float or int literal as an argument and return the value of a class string. For example, a is equal to string sample text, b is equal to string then in the brackets 2, c is equal to string in the brackets 2.5, and output will be sample text as a string, 2 as a string and 2.5 as a string. Notably, there are two types of conversion: implicit type conversion and explicit type conversion. In implicit type conversion, Python automatically convert one data type into another data type. Python promotes the conversion of the lower data type, that is integer, to higher data type, that is float. Okay. For explicit type conversion, in this type of conversion, user must convert the data type into the required data type using proper function like int, float and string. Okay. Now let me show an example so it will be more clear to you guys. Okay. In the file type underscore conversion underscore normal.py, you will get the example of the type conversion. Here you can see I'm giving number 1 to 3 and float number, that is 1.23. Okay. and then I'm adding two values. I'm checking the first number data type, I'm checking the data type of the second number, and then the value after the like some value, I'm checking the type of that number also. Okay, first the value I'm printing, then I'm checking the type of this value. Okay, let's execute this type conversion normal.py. Now if you execute that, you can see the first data type. Okay, so you can see here the data type of the num int, that is this one, is integer. Of course this is integer 1 2 3, and the data type of the number float is float. Okay, you can see the class is float. But when the sum happens of number int plus number float, there the new variable value will become the float. Okay, you can see the the data type of num new is float. The value is 124.23. So Python automatically convert this num int value as a float. Okay, and then do the addition, and the new value that generate from this is of course a float value, and that is the reason we check the type of num new, we get the class float. Okay, I hope now you'll understand how the implicit conversion works. Now let's discuss about the explicit conversion. So for that example, you can see number int 1 2 3, and we want to add 4 5 6. Now what will happen if you try to do addition before even converting that? Let's try that. Okay, so before conversion, if you try to do the addition, it will throw a error. Okay, now you can see it throw the error. Okay, saying that unsupported operand types for the plus int and string, because you cannot add an integer and string. Okay, that's the reason it's thrown an error. But if you do the conversion first, like explicitly convert it to integer. Okay, so number string is equal to int, then number string, then if you do the addition, this will be converted to the integer and the plus will happen fine. So you can see it's showing the 579, that is 1 2 3 plus 4 5 6 is equal to 579, and before conversion the num string type was the string, you can see here. Okay, and after the conversion happens, say here after num string converted to integer, and if we try to check the type of the num string, you can see it become integer. Okay, because we converted using the int method. And okay, and then you can see num sum is equal to num int plus num string. Okay, and that's the reason it became a value and it able to add properly and gives a value of 576. And if we check the type of the new variable, that is num sum, it will be integer. Okay, so that's how the type conversion works. Now this is a normal example. Let me show you a bit more advanced example. Okay, so now check the file, that is type underscore conversion underscore dynamic.py. Okay, here you can see I'm utilizing the input function to get the values from the user. Okay, and for the similarly for the second one also, and you are storing the first input into number A, and you are storing the second input into the number B. Now what will happen if we just take the input and try to do the sum? Okay, let's see that. Okay, let's try to execute that file and see what will be the problem. So Python 3, then the file name, let's execute it. First number let's say 10, and second number is let's say 20. Okay, and if we do that, and you can see the value is 10 20, not 30, because in input method it gives the value as a string, and if we do the use the plus sign with the string, it do the concatenation, not the calculation. Now what we'll do, if we want to do the calculation, we have to add the int. Okay, say int in the number A and int in the number B. If we do that and then we check the values again, say 10 and say 20, now is returning 30, right? Now what will happen if we give a float number? Let's try out. So let's run the file again and giving 10. First one is a integer and second one let's give it 12.50. It's giving error, right? Because it cannot convert the float type string to the integer. That's the reason. If you want to calculate, you have to use the float. So give the float, and similar way give the float here, and if you do that now, say 12 and say 12, say 15.20 or something, whatever, now it's giving the proper sum of the results. So this is how we can do the typecasting and you can utilize this. Okay, now just a small note, instead of just doing the conversion here, we can directly convert here itself. Okay, so give the float here. Okay, similarly again give the float function here, and now remove from the number during the sum. It will do the conversion after taking the value itself. We don't have to convert here. Instead, the conversion will happen here. So now again, if we do the run it, and let's say 10 and say 25.50, see, it gives us the result 35.5. So it worked. So this is how you can do the type conversion. I hope you understand the type conversion now. Let's move to the next section. Now let's learn about the Python operators. First one is the arithmetic operator. So arithmetic operators are used with numeric values to perform common mathematical operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulus, exponentiation, floor division. For example, a plus b, a minus b, a into b, a by b, etc. Okay. Second, we have comparison operators. So comparison operators are used to compare two values. For example, equal, you can see the symbol is double equal sign. Not equal, you can see it's exclamatory, and equal sign, greater than, less than, greater than equal, less than equal. For example, a equal b, or a not equal b, a greater than b, a less than c, a greater than equal b, a less than equal b, etc. While covering the conditional statements, we will be utilizing these comparison operators. Okay. Now, third one is the logical operators. Logical operators are used to combine conditional statements. For example, true if both statements are true using AND, true if one of the statements is true using OR, reverse the result, return false if the result is true using NOT. Fourth one is the identity operator. So identity operator are used to compare the objects. So true if both the variables are the same object using is keyword. True if both the variables are not the same object using is not keyword. For example, A is B, A is not B, to compare the two objects. Okay, and here just assume that A and B are the objects. Okay. Now the fifth one is the membership operators. So membership operators are used to test if a sequence is presented in an object or not. True if a sequence with the specified value is present in the object, and false if it's not. Okay. For example, x in y, it checks that value of x is presented in the y or not. And another one is the x not in y. It checks that x value is not present in the y. Okay. Now the sixth one is the bitwise operators, and this is used for the binary operations. Okay. And, or, nor, not, zero fill, left shift, signed, right shift. For example, x and y is equal to 0, x or y equal to 14, not x is equal to minus 11. So these are the use of these bitwise operators. The seventh one is the assignment operators, and assignment operators are used to assign values to variables. Okay, equal to, plus equals to, minus equals to, into equals to, slash equals to, percent equals to. For example, x is equal to 5, x plus equal to 3, which equivalent to x is equal to x plus 3, and all other are all similar. Okay. Now let's learn about the if else statement. Now if else is a conditional statement, but when to use it? When you have to execute a code, only if certain condition matches or satisfied, then only you should use the if else statement. Okay. Now how to use the if statement? In the example, you can see it's using indentation to mention the inside block. Okay, in normally other programming languages you normally mention all the code block inside a curly braces, but in the Python it's not the case. It uses the indentation. So Python relies on indentation, that is white space in the beginning of the line, to define the scope in the code. Okay, if not done properly, it will definitely throw error. Now let me show you the example so you can have a better idea. For the if condition demo, refer to if underscore condition underscore normal.py file in the GitHub repo. Now here I'm defining a is equal to 10 and b is equal to 20. Now if condition I'm utilizing like this here. If b, that is the value 20, greater than a, then only show this message. So print b is greater than a. Now here you can see we are giving indentation. If we don't give you the indentation, what will happen? Let's see. So let's try to execute Python 3, then the if condition normal. Okay, and see it's giving error because expected an indented block after if statement, right? So we have to give an indentation here. So we given the now indentation. Now if we try to run, you'll see running fine. So yes, b value is 20 is greater than a, then only this is executing. So let's make b 10 and a 20. So now b is actually not greater than a, right? So if we run again, it's saying nothing, right? So that's how the condition works. If the condition matches, then only a block of code will execute. Okay. Now let's learn about the else if keyword. So else if keyword in Python is a way of saying if the previous condition doesn't match, then try this condition. Okay, and you can see in the example a is equal to 10, b is equal to 10. If b greater than a, then print b is bigger than a. Else if a equal b, then print a and b are equal. Okay, so let's try to run that. Now let's understand the code here. So if b greater than a colon, then this is the, and remember the indentation is very important here. So after indentation saying print b is greater than a. Now if this condition doesn't match, this first condition doesn't match, then now next comes the else if statement. So else if a equal b, then only print the a and b are equal. Okay. So now right now it's a equal 10 and b equal 20. Now I want to match this condition, right? So let's say a and b are both 10 equal. So that means the first condition will not succeed and it will come to this condition. Let's try and check. Okay. And if you do that, see a and b are equal. So first it check for this condition and this condition doesn't match. So this block doesn't execute it. And since this condition match a equal b, then only this code block get executed. Okay. Now if b's value is 20 and let's say b's value 20 and now this condition will match, and since this condition match, it will not even come to the else if statement. Now let me show you. Okay. So if you run that, and you can see b is greater than a and this not even came to this condition. Anyway, it will not succeed because the values are not equal, right? So now you understand how the else if statement work. Now let's understand about the else statement. Okay. Now the else keyword catches anything which isn't caught by the previous condition. Okay. Now let me show you so you can understand even better and see. So if b greater than a, then print b is greater than a. If a equal b, then print a and b are equal. But what if this both condition doesn't match? It will default come to the final else condition. So now let's make the a value as 50. Now what will happen? A's value is 50, which is greater than b and not equal b. So if b greater than a? No, because b is 20 and a is 50. So the first condition doesn't match, doesn't succeed. This part will not execute. Else if a equal b, it's checking that a is equals to b or not. But a is not equals to b, right? Because a is 50 and b is 20. So it will also not succeed. That means this statement will not execute. Then else. And if both the condition doesn't match, the else statement, it will be a is greater than b. Okay. So now let's run it and you can see a is greater than b is coming because of course you can see first condition doesn't match, second condition also doesn't match, and if no condition match, then finally the else statement will execute and that what happens. So I hope now you understand how the if else statement works. Okay. Now these examples I've shown till now are all static values, right? Now let's work with some dynamic variable values. So here you can see in a variable we are dynamically from user input we are getting the first value, and in the b and for b also you are getting the value dynamically, so using integer. Okay. Now here you are checking if b is greater than a, we are printing b is greater than a. Else if a is equal to b, it's a and b are equal, else it is a is greater than b, just like the previous example, but the values are dynamic. Okay. So let's try to run it. Okay. So and the file name is if condition dynamic. Okay. So let's run it. Python 3 and if condition dynamic.py. Now let's try to run it and you'll see it's asking for the first number. So let's give it like 10, and the second number, let's say it's a b value, so 20. So you can see saying that b is greater than a. So this is how you can get the values input from directly from the user and do the comparison. Okay. Now let's learn about the for loop in Python. So a for loop in Python is used for iterating over a sequence. It could be list, a tuple, a dictionary, a set, a string, or any other iterable object. Okay. Now let me show you a simple for loop example. You can find the for loop example in for_loop_example.py file. Okay. And let's look at the file. So first is that we are checking the normal for loop example where we have the list for colors. So color is the list variable where inside the third brackets we are giving red, green, and blue separated by commas. Okay. Now to use the for loop, you can see here we are using the for keyword and x is the iteration variable in colors. Okay. So it will be the item in the color as an iteration object, and we are printing the x. So now let's execute the code and see how it works. Okay. So Python 3 then for loop example. Okay, so here's the output: red, green and blue, because x is referred to the item. Okay, so each iteration, each item, since we have 3 items, so it will be 3 iteration. Okay, so that's the reason the first iteration it's shown the red, the second iteration it shows the second value, that is the green, and in the third iteration you can see the third value blue. So that's how the for loop works. Okay, it just iterated over the values. Now let's learn about the break statement. So the break statement can stop the loop before it even loop through all the items. Okay. Now let's learn about the continue statement also. So the continue statement can stop the current iteration of the loop and continues to the next loop. So what is the difference between the break statement and the break statement and the continue statement? You can see break statement completely cancel the loop, but the continue statement only skip the current iteration. Now let me show in the code example so it can be even more clear to you guys. Okay. So here let's go through the code first. So we are again defining color as red, green, blue, and then we are running a loop. So for x, the iteration in color, then the coding block, you can see here the indentation, then we are checking a condition. If x equal green, then only break it. Okay, otherwise keep printing. So the green is in the second, right? So first the red, it will match, it will try to match that x equal to green or not. Since the red it will not match, so it will not break. It will come to the green, it will check x equal to green or not, and then if it matches, then it will break the statement, and then the loop will get cancelled. So now let's run it. So Python 3 for loop code, you can see it printed red, but it doesn't printed the green or the blue because it breaks. So the loop is cancelled after that. Okay. Now let's check the continue statement. So here you can see again we define the colors as a list variable and we assign the values in the list, that is red, green, blue, comma separated. Each items, so there are 3 items just like the previous examples, and we're iterating by for x in colors. If x equal green, it will skip or continue, then it will print. So for the first, it will check the red, it will not match the condition, it will not continue, it will not skip, it will simply print the red because it skipped the current iteration. So that's why the print will not happen. But again, the iteration will continue, and next time when the x is blue, so x equal green, so blue is not equal to green, so it will not continue, it will do the normal execution, it will print the value as blue. So it will print red and blue, the green will get skipped. Okay, so let's run and see. So you can see here continue statement example, it printed the red, but since the condition matched for the green, it skipped that using continue keyword, so it doesn't get printed or executed. Again the next iteration was blue, so it printed blue because here the code executed. So that's how the break and continue works. Now let's learn about the else in the for loop. So the for loop supports an else block. Else keyword in the for loop specify a block of code to execute it when the loop is finished. Note, if the break statement executed in the for loop, then the else block will also get ignored. So remember that part. Now let me show you a quick example. Here you can see again the same color variable, so list type, and here you can see the red, green and blue is the items, and we are iterating over x in colors and we are printing in iteration in the execution block that print x. If once all the iteration is done in the else statement, it will say all item process. So now let's run it and see. So running it, and you can see it just printed normally the red, green, blue and all, and the end after all the items processed executed, it's saying all item processed in the else statement. So that's how it worked. Now suppose I am saying that if x is equal to the green, it will break, and then you can see that this else block will not even run. So let's run and see. See, it printed red, it printed green because we are printing before even checking the break condition. So it printed green, but it didn't print blue, or it not even printed the else statement, because if you include the break statement, it breaks the entire loop and the conditions as well. Okay. Now let's learn about the range function. So to loop through a set of code a specified numbers of times, we can use the range function, and it always start from 0. So let me show you how it works. So here you can see for x in the range, okay, to 20, print x. That means that it's from 0 to 20 range, it will after the indentation print x, so x the iteration value will be printed. So let's run and see what will happen. So again the Python 3 and all, you can see it started from 0 and then it's come to the up to 19 just before the 20. Okay, similar way, suppose you want to execute a code 100 times, same thing, just change it to 100 and then you can see it printed up to 100. So it executed over 100 times. So iteration executed over 100 times. That's how the range function works. Okay, and this is how you can utilize the range function with the for loop. Okay, now that you have learned how the for loop works, let's move to the next section, which is the while loop. Now let's learn about the while loop. So the while loop can iterate and execute a set of statements as long as the expression or the condition is true. Okay, now let me show you a quick example so you can understand it better. The while loop example code you will find in while underscore loop underscore example.py file. So here you can see I is equal to 0 and you are utilizing the while loop here by the while keyword, and then here you are giving the condition and by the colon. Okay, so while condition, that is I less than 10, and here inside the indentation block saying that print I and then increase I value by 1. So I, you can see I plus is equal to 1, which is actually mean I plus 1. So instead of this we can write it I plus is equal to 1. Okay, so let's remove this part unnecessary, and now if we run that it will print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 like that until unless it become 10. Okay, now let's run it by running and then the file name, that is while loop example. You can see it iterate from 0 to 9 because here in the condition we have mentioned if and only if the I is less than 10, then only execute this statement. But if the I become 10, then the condition no more satisfying, so that this loop is no more running. So this is one of the example how you can utilize the while loop. Now let's learn about the break statement. So the break statement can stop the loop even if the while condition is true, and this is very useful if you want to just stop the loop. Okay, now let me show you example. Now let's understand the code first. So I is equals to 1, so I value starting from 1. While using the while keyword, we are saying if I is less than 10, then only print I. Okay, and the moment if I equal 5, break it, otherwise continue. Okay, so the loop will continue 1, 2, 3, 4, and when it's 5, the break statement will get executed and then the entire loop will stop. Now let's run it and see what will happen. So let's clear the screen and again run the file. So Python 3 while loop example. You can see it run through 1, 2, 3, 4 till 5 because we have mentioned here it will run through less than 10, but the moment it equals to 5, it will stop the iteration. That's the reason it stop at 5. Okay, now I hope you understand the break statement. Now let's learn about the continue statement. Okay, so the continue statement can stop the current iteration. Remember the word current iteration only and continue with the next. So let me show you the code, that will be even more easy for you guys. Here again let's understand the code first. So I is equal to 0, so we are starting the I's value as 0. Then while I is less than 10, the loop will continue, you can see, and inside the code block, which is again, so always remember here utilizing the indentation to say it's inside the while loop. Okay, so here we are increasing the I value, so I plus equals to 1, then if I equal to 5, so the moment I become 5, we are skipping the 5. Okay, so it will not print the I statement, it will next come to the 6. Okay, so then first it will come to 1, it will print, it will come to 2, it will print, 3, it will print, 4, it will print, but when it come to 5, it will continue, which means it will skip the value, and then again it will come to 6, 7, 8, 9, up to 9 will come, and then again when the condition is I less than 10, right, the moment it become 10, the entire loop will stop. So that's how the continue statement works. Now let's execute the code and see the results, and then run Python 3 while loop example. You can see it printed 1, 2, 3 up to 4, and then it skipped the 5 because in the 5 we have mentioned continue, which means skip this iteration. So then again it starts from 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Okay, so this is how the continue statement works. Okay, now let's understand about the else statement. So else in while loop. So using the else statement we can run a block of code once when the condition is no longer true. That means after the while loop exit we can run the else statement. Okay, now again let me show you in the code how it works. Here understand the code first. So I is equal to 0, and while using the while keyword, condition is that I is less than 10. So this is while is true, the loop is going on. Inside the indentation block, we are saying print I and then increasing the I value. After it reach to like 10, then it will stop the while loop. It will come to the print statement in the else block and say that I is no longer less than 10. So this is how the else block works. So let's run the code and see what is the result. Python 3 while loop example. If you run that, you can see it starts from 0 because we are printing before and then we are increasing the value. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. The moment it become 9 and printed, the next value is 10, right? So again it coming to while and it's checking is 10 less than 10? No, it's 10, right? So that is the reason it will come to the else statement. It will say that I is no longer less than 10. So this is how the else statement works. I hope that you understand the while loop. Now let's move to the next section. Now let's learn about the functions. So what exactly is a function? A function is a block of code that can only run when it's called. We can pass the data known as parameters into the function and a function can return value as a result. Okay. In Python, we can define the function using def keyword. We can call a function by the function name and then the parenthesis. Now let me show you a quick example so you can understand what function is and how to write a function. So here you can see we are utilizing def keyword and then the function name my underscore hello underscore world function, and here I have given indentation. After that we are giving the function block here. Okay, and in the function block I'm just printing hello world from a function. Now how to call a function? We are just giving a function name and using parenthesis just of the function name. So this is how we can call a function. Now let's run this code and see what will be the output. The demo codes are in the function underscore example.py file. Okay, so you can practice yourself as well. Now let's run Python 3 and then the file name, that is function example.py. If you run it, you can see hello world from function. Now what if we comment out the function and execute it? See, the command will not get executed. Until unless you call the function by the function name and parenthesis, the code will not get executed. This is function. So now if we run again, see, it's work. Now this is how we write the function. Now let's learn about how to pass the argument. So information or data can be passed into function as argument, and arguments can be name argument inside the parenthesis separated by comma. If you're not sure about how many argument will be there, add a star sign before the parameter name, and this is called arbitrary arguments. And if you want to give the named argument but not sure how many argument will be there, you can give double star, and this is called arbitrary keyword arguments. Now let me show you a quick example so you can understand that. So here you can see we are defining a function, so def then the function name, and here we are supplying a parameter called name, and inside that function what we are doing, we are printing the hi then the name. Okay, and here I am calling the function with the parameter itself. So it should print hi Sandip. Now let's try to run the function and see. So to run that Python then function, you can see hi Sandip. So we can simply pass the argument via the function like this. Now this is a single parameter example. Let me show you how to pass the multiple parameters. So for that, let's comment it down, and here is the multiple parameters. So here is a function called greet full name. Here I am giving first name and the last name, and you can see inside the function block we are saying print hi then the first name and the last name, and this plus symbol is actually a concatenation sign. So it will be hi then the first name and the last name, and here you can see I am calling the function with the parameter Sandip. First parameter is Sandip and second parameter is Das. So now let's run and see what will be the output. So you can see hi Sandip Das because we run this function and supplied this to parameters. Now what if you are not sure about the number of parameters? We talked about the arbitrary argument, right? So this is the arbitrary argument example. So here I am defining the function my colors, and I am not sure how many colors there will be. Okay, and so here I am printing the first color, whatever the color comes to us. Okay, and here I am calling the function by calling the function name, and inside the parentheses I am supplying red, green and blue, and there you can see, here you can see the first argument is red, so it will be automatically converted to a colors list. In colors list the first index is 0, which is the first argument here. So this is how you can supply the multiple variables. Now let's run this function and see what will be the output. So again Python function example, you can see the first color is red. Similarly, so let's say second color is the second color. Okay, so let's run the function. So Python 3 example .py, the second color is the green. Okay, so this is how we can access the values that we supply via the arguments. Okay, now this is the example where you want to access the values by index. What if you want to access the values by the name keyword, but you are not sure how many argument will be there? For that, we will be utilizing name arbitrary argument. So let me show you example. Here you can see I'm defining a function by the diff keyword, and the name is the my named colors. You can see 2 star because I want to use the named arbitrary arguments. Okay, now while calling the function, here you can see my named color, where I'm supplying the red is equals to the red color, the blue is equal to blue color, and the green is equal to green color. You can see inside the function block I'm printing the first color is the color variable, and there I'm using the named argument as red. Okay, you can see red is equal to this color. So when we run this code, we will see the first color is the red color. Okay, so let's run and see. Let's create this one first and run Python example. You can see saying the first color is the red color because we defined that way, and we are using the name keyword to get the value. Okay, so this is how we can utilize the name arbitrary arguments. Okay, now let's learn about the return value. So we can use the return statement to get the value back from a function. Okay, and this is very useful, and in our upcoming episodes it will be very important. Okay, so understand that very carefully. Now let me show you a return value example. Here you can see you are defining a function called sum, and you are accepting 2 arguments there, which is a and b, and inside the function block we are saying return a plus b, which is the sum of the a plus b. Okay, then in the sum value variable we are calling the function. You can see sum value is equal to sum 5 and 10. We are supplying the as a 5 as a and b as 10. Okay, and we will get the values if we use the return statement. So in this return statement we are saying return the value of a plus b. So in the sum value we will get the sum of the 5 and 10, which is 15, and we are printing the sum is the sum value. So let's run it and see how it works. So you can see the sum is 15 because in this example we are not just printing the values but we are returning. So that when you use the return statement, this function will return this value to this new variable, and if you check the type of this variable, say, okay, now let's run again. You can see the type is int because we added to int, and the return value is also integer. Then we check the sum value, which is 15, and the type of this new variable is also integer. So now you understand how the return statement works. Okay, so we covered the basic of the function. Now let's learn about the modules. So what is a module in Python? Module in Python is a file containing Python function, statements and definitions, just like a code library. There is 2 types of modules. Okay, first one is system module and the second one is the custom module. So what exactly is system module? There are several built-in modules that comes with default with Python installation, and we can utilize these modules using the import statement, and click on the link that I have given there. It will redirect you to the main Python module list. Let me show you. In this page you will see the entire full list of modules. Okay, and that link is already available in the document. You can find it there, and there are a lot of system modules. You can see it all come with the default Python installation. From here it will be checking out the platform module. In platform module there are a lot of function and the methods. You can see it here, and we will be utilizing as an example. Now let me show you the example. So here you can see you are importing platform and you are getting the system. So platform, the system, it will give you the system. So what kind of system you are utilizing into the x variable, and you are printing the x variable. Now let's run it. To run this we are utilizing system module example.py file. So if you want to run, you can refer to that file. To run it you have to run Python 3 then system module example.py, and if you run it, and it's showing the Darwin because this platform is based on the Darwin. Okay, so this is how you can utilize the system module. Now let's learn about the custom module, and to develop a custom module in Python is very easy. So we can use the modules to break down large program into smaller, manageable and organized files, and furthermore modules provide the reusability of the code. To create a custom module, first you have to write a code and save the file with .py extension. Anyway, if you want to run big chunk of the Python code, you should write a .py extension file and have the codes there. Okay, so and the example I've shown all are using the Python files, right? So now you already have some idea. Now let me show you how to create the custom module. Okay, so here you can see I have a file called custom module example. Okay, and this is very simple code. Here I'm just defining a function called greet_person. If you provide the name, then it will just simply print the name, and another one object that will be utilizing later, that is person example, which is a dictionary type. You can, from the look of it also, you can tell that this is a dictionary using the key values. So the name is Sandip, age is 20, and say country is India. Okay, so this is there. Now how to utilize this module, that's the important point, right? So we have to use like this. This is the file, which have the function, which have the other methods or the variables. Now to access these methods and variables, we have to first import it. So you can see the example here. So import then the file name without the .py extension. So import custom module example. So this is the file name without the .py extension. You just have to give the file name and that's it. So custom module example, then use the dot, okay, then the method name or the function name. So the function name is greetperson. You can see I'm just calling the function with some values. Okay, this is how I'm calling a function inside a module. So let's run it and see how it works, and run Python 3 and then custom module usage example. Okay, because if you try to run the custom module example, that is the main module, it will not show anything. But if you run this one, it will show you the output because we are calling the function here. So let's run it and you can see normal mode usage because I'm printing that just before that, and there I'm saying greet person, and if you see this function is actually what doing, this function is actually printing the hello and then the whatever parameter you're supplying in the name, just simply printing with that. So hello and plus the name. So that's the reason I supplied Sandip right here, and there's the reason it's saying hello Sandip. So this is how we can utilize the methods. Okay, we can also import modules with custom aliases using the as keyword. Let me show how it works. Here you can see I am importing this module. So this is the module, right? Custom module example.py. Again, just to remind, you don't have to give the .py file. Simply import then the name of the file without the extension, and then as the alias keyword, and then CME. So I'm just instead of giving a full name, we can just use the short name as alias, right? So CME, that is custom module example, and then I want to get the age. Okay, so here I have defined a dictionary, right? Python example, and I want to get the age. Okay, and how can I do it? I can simply use the CME, that is the main module, this entire module, then dot, okay, then the variable name. So here the variable name is Python example. So I'm giving Python example, and you know already how to access the values of any dictionary. Just give the key and I'm storing the value in variable A and printing it. Okay, so now let's run it and see. So let's do it and see, using alias for the, just I'm printing this using alias for accessing variable, and here I'm getting the print as 20 because here in the module itself I have mentioned the age as 20, right? So this is how the module works. Now if you want to check in any module what are the variables name, what are the function name, etc., you can use the dir function. So using dir function you can do it. Okay, you can see here x is equal to dir, then the parenthesis, inside that I'm giving the module name. Okay, and this will print all the variables name and function name. So that's what I'm storing actually in the x and printing x. So let's do it and let's clear the screen before that. Now let's run it. So Python 3 custom module using example.py, and you can see now these are the inbuilt and the custom ones are the greet person and the person example. Okay, so now I hope you understand how the module works. Now let's move to the next section, which is exception handling. Now let's learn about the exception handling or error handling. So we as programmers make mistakes, and we do a lot of mistakes, to be honest. So, and Python programming will be no exception, right? So Python programs terminates as soon as it encounters such errors. Okay, and to prevent the exit of the program, we should be using the exception handling. In Python, this exception can be handled using the try exception statement. Now let me show you how it works. The error handling code, sample code is in the error underscore handling underscore example.py file. If you want to try out, you can check the codes there. Okay, so here if you see that I'm just trying out that print x. Now I have not defined the x. Okay, and that is the reason there will be error. Now let's try without the try catch, so you'll understand what is the problem first. And let's see. And let's see here. If we try to execute this command, you will see error. Okay, if you try to execute this command, you will see the error. So let's try to run that. Python 3, then error. You can see the name x is not defined and it exited the code, right? Now I don't want it to be exit. Instead, we should handle this error gracefully. So to do that, we have to use the try and except. Try means you will try to run the code, that is print x, which is x is not defined of course, and in except we will handle the error. Okay, so let's run it, and you can see we handle the error gracefully, saying an exception has occurred. Okay, so this is how we can simply handle the errors in Python. Now let's talk about the multiple exception. So we can define as many exception block as we want, and for example, if we want to execute a special block of code for a special kind of error, we can do it. Now let me show you how. So here you can see we are using try and except multiple time. Okay, see, so try, print x. Now x is not defined, so of course it will throw an error, but that error is a name type error. Okay, and there is a reason this will come here. So you can see it will print variable x is not defined. Suppose it throw error which is not name error, it will come to this except, where it will say something else is wrong. Okay, so let's try to execute and see how it works. Let's create this one and run. You can see we run the Python, then the error handling example.py, and there the variable x is not defined error came. Now let's suppose I am giving some other value, let's say like this, hi plus 3. Okay, now this is of course the error. What will happen if you see something went wrong, because you cannot add a number with the string, right? So that's why it's an error, but it's not a name error, right? There's a reason it came as a something else went wrong error. You can see here this except block handle it instead of this one, right? Now I hope you understand how to use the multiple except statement. Okay, now let's understand the else keyword usage in the try except. Okay, so use else keyword to define a block of code to be executed if there is no error happened. Okay, so let me show you in the code how it works. So you can see the code here, try, that is print hi, it will just print hi, except if something goes wrong, it will do the except. Okay, and if all goes good, there is no problem, then only this except part will run, so nothing went wrong. So let's try to run it and see. Again, it's the same file. So error handling example, here you can see it printed hi and there was no error at all. That's the reason in else statement it came as nothing went wrong. Now what if there is error in the hi? So let's say here hi. Now hi is not defined. Instead of just if forgot, suppose you forgot to give the code, okay, then what it happens, right? So let's try to run it. You can see it's printing something went wrong and is not coming to the else statement because there is an error, so it will not come to the else statement. Okay, now I hope you understand how to use the else statement, right? Now let's learn about the final block. So the final block will be executed regardless if the try block has some error or not, so it will be executed no matter what. Now let me show you how it works, then it will be much more clear to you. So you can see the code here is trying to print x and x is not defined, so it must come to the except and say something went wrong, but it will not stop there. The finally part will be executed if there is error or not error. Okay, so let me show you. Okay, so for there, now if you try to execute this file, you can see handling error with finally, that is the printing here, then something went wrong because x is not defined, right? That's why this something went wrong is printed, that is executed, and this finally block where it's printing the print try except is finished, that also executed. Now if you like, just for the confirmation, let's say you are defining x is equals to 5, okay, then it should simply print 5, see 5, and that try except is finished because there is no exception, right? No problem, no exception, but still the finally part is executed. So if you want to execute some code no matter there is an error or not, then use the finally statement or final block here. Okay, I hope you understand now. While discussing this try except, I want to include one more section here, that is how to understand the type of the exception. You can utilize the system module, that is inbuilt system modules or default system module, and using that you can find out what is the type of error have occurred. Okay, so you can see here the code import sys, we are importing the system module, and then you are trying something, and of course the x is not defined, so it will throw error and it will come to the except block where I am simply printing oops sys.exe info, that is the execution info, and then well, like any problem is there, then it will show the error type, okay, and occurred. Now let's try to execute this code and find out what error it will throw. Okay, so let's see and to execute. You can see the class name error have occurred, so this name is not there, that's why this name error occurred. Now what if you explain like this, x, say this error, okay, high plus 10, okay, this will throw error, but you don't know what kind of error it will throw, right? To understand, you can simply run this command again. You can see the type error occurred, okay. So these are all the ways you can handle the exception in Python, okay. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoy the session. In the next week, that is the next session, I'll be covering the advanced Python, okay. If you enjoy this video, do give a like to this video and subscribe to the channel and share this video with others as much as possible, okay. Hope to see you soon in the next session. Bye.